Hello, this is the first lesson of a series of lessons on geometry. The idea of these videos is so we can go through some of the theory. I can give you my thoughts. We can go through some examples, and you've got the ability to be able to stop, pause, rewind, watch again and again if you need to. So this hopefully can support you towards doing the worksheet that follows this video. So the first one is looking at measuring angles, which is something you may have done quite a lot of already. It's one of those things with measuring is that it can get lost if you pick up any bad habits from something not being clear or bad practices. So it is worth going over again to make sure that you have the right idea with answering questions. So obviously the first thing we need to think about is with angles is measuring the tool that we're using. So generally on your stationary list you would sport a 180 degree protractor, so in other words a half circle. The key things to point out on the protractor is that at each side it starts at 0 and 180. So where it starts 0 on the left hand side is the outside, and as it goes around it goes all the way to 180, and then going backwards on the inside you can go 0 to 180, and depending on what side the angle is opening to, or where the starting point of the angle is, will determine which side you measure. Tends to be, if you make a mistake on these sorts of questions, it tends to be because you've read the wrong side of the scale. So your 0 starting point is at the wrong place. Okay, so reading the protractor. So the key steps we need to be familiar with is start the scale from 0 always. It sounds really obvious, but again, it's amazing how many people make that mistake. Read the scale where the other ray or in the angle is. Okay, so we have our angles here. So we bring in our protractor. The key thing is to have the line at the bottom. You can see it here that it's matched up perfectly, and also the center point is in the right place. You can see that if this is our starting line, and it is because we're putting the 0 line there, then we need to measure on the second arm of the angle. Now, because 0 is on the inside at the start, we measure the angle on the inside, which in this case is 50 degrees. For question 2, you can see we're going to measure from the bottom line, and again the 0 is on the outside, so we measure the outside value here, which is 67. So it's pretty simple with that, but again you'd be amazed to see how many people get it wrong. So the key things, always look directly down the cross point. Some protractors have a little magnifying glass to make it a bit clearer that you're actually on the vertex, which is where the points meet. Always use protractor in horizontal. Try not to use it this way or this way or this way, because it can be confusing. You can always move the book around or the piece of paper. So you can see these bigger angles, same procedure, exactly the same, is that the 0 is on the inside, so we measure inside here, so it's 120. The other option here, that we're moving the other way, we're measuring starting on the outside, so we measure on the outside. Second one, which is 135. Again, a common issue with measuring protractors is that boys tend to leave their lines too short. Always make sure you can always extend the lines if they're too short and they don't all meet to the points on the edge of the protractor. If you've got a particularly big protractor, it can be quite difficult. So you can do that as well. So always keep these in mind when you complete that. So if you're quite happy with that, close down the video, carry on with there's an exercise for you to complete in your textbook. If for some reason you haven't got your textbook with you, there is also a couple of worksheets that you could work on instead. If you've got a printer at home, it would be great if you could print those off. If not, you can have it on the screen and you work in a workbook with your answers. After that, you've done the worksheet, there is a Education Perfect test which I would like you to complete as well. The idea behind that is to make sure you that we can try and get as much individual work done as possible, and that the aim would be to complete about 20 minutes of Education Perfect after every lesson, if not more. There's also a couple of videos that explain how to measure angles using a protractor, which you can look at should you need to. So shut this video down and then make a start on the worksheet, please.